Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm a little nervous just because of the countdown. It's funny.
Podcast is live.
What's up, Those Boys fans?
What's up, guys?
My name is Nathan.
I'm Zach.
Welcome to episode 24.
Episode 24.
We're happy to have you, whether you're watching us right now on YouTube or TikTok or other social media sites, or you're listening to us on all the other plethora of sites. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
We're talking about some trauma today.
Mm-hmm.
This is a cast where we talk about religious trauma specifically. We are working on becoming more and more organized each and every episode, and this is part of a 5-part series.
This is number 2. We talked about prayer last week.
Prayer was last
This week we're going to talk about worship.
The title of that one was The Trauma of Prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And today's episode, 2 out of 5, is going to be The Trauma of
Worship.
Before we actually jump into that, though, I just want to say, Zachary,
Yes.
you're looking very, very beautiful today.
Oh, thanks, man.
But really, I know that you recently have been dealing with some sort of
Illness.
yeah. Why don't you go ahead and
Yeah.
share what you've been
I got
through?
struck by the COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
COVID-18.
COVID-18, not the 19.
Yeah, now because the newest strain is actually going down in the numbers.
Mhm.
But you got actually really sick from COVID-18,
Yeah, super
right?
sick.
Like most
yeah.
people don't actually get too sick from COVID-18.
I love how serious you're just like saying COVID-18. No, actually, I was out,
I know,
dude.
man, I know.
I've had COVID twice now. I had it back in early 2021 and then, actually, no, it's early 2022, but then now. And
It's just weird to
I
even
was out.
to be talking about it like this, where it's like, yeah, I had COVID back in the 20s. And then 21, I had it. And 22, I had it. But 23 so far, man, going strong. Did have the RSV. Had the RSV, but not the COVID.
Not the COVID, baby.
The third time getting COVID was actually pretty chill.
For most people, it is, it seems like.
Oh, no, man. I remember it was, you got it like, you are out of quarantine, right?
Yes.
Okay. We tested him on the way in.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding, no.
George up there. Got an old test kicks.
As a registered nurse. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun,
Famous first words.
Yeah.
As a registered nurse, I'm just happy that you're vaccinated and you did get pretty damn sick.
I'm not vaccinated.
And look, get out. Get out
I
now.
would not put that poison in my blood. No, I'm fully vaxxed. I got my V card pretty early.
I know you're vaxxed because I've been pinging you on my phone everywhere you go. Find friends. It says vaccinated lovers.
Yeah, there you go. Unvaccinated.
It's just in your blood,
non-lovers.
so I just see your body like on the maps. Oh, he got vaccinated, so he's got all the sensors now.
Yeah, you can look through my Wi-Fi and you can see my whole blueprint in my house.
I just asked ChatGPT where you are.
Where's Zach?
I'm sorry, I am only a word model, and I don't know where Zach is.
Does not compute.
That does not. I'm only a word model. Sorry, I do not know that.
He even does like a little stick man emoji.
Whatever it does, I am a word model. We're talking about ChatGPT, which my fiance Megan doesn't call people by their first name or anything. She makes nicknames. And today we were at the store, and she was like, "Hey, can you ask the G if?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Can you ask the G?" And I was like, "What's the G?" And she was like, ChatGPT. And I was like, "Get in the car. Go to the car right now."
Get in the
You
car.
can pull out your own iPhone to search up your own G. Go get your own G.
Go get your own G.
Oh, man, it's funny. She loves it too. She just doesn't want to use it yet. She's just like, no, I think it's great. You're building a great relationship with AI. I just don't want to. And I'm like, okay, I'll just use it. You can use it vicariously through me.
I wonder why she doesn't want to.
I think it's just, it's just, I don't know.
It's just weird at the moment.
She's writing her dissertation.
She wants to write it.
And
Right.
urban studies. I don't think many people in urban studies are like, yeah, there's this thing called ChatGPT that's sick. No, but she thinks it's really cool now. Like we've been doing like stuff in the kitchen, recipes, and it's been pretty fun.
Very cool. I love ChatGPT. I use it all the time.
I do too.
I use it for all our videos and everything.
I don't care what anybody says.
Who's talking?
I've written 15 papers,
Who said?
all ChatGPT reviewed.
Yes. All peer reviewed and full articles. Fully done. Scholars, everything.
It's very obvious, like the limitations of it. And
As of now.
I'm just so excited for more.
I mean, the
Give us more.
pro version is supposed to be coming out pretty soon. 500 times more powerful. That's quite a bit more powerful.
It'd be fun to talk about this if we were a tech podcast.
So something that I've kind of known that I've been able to do that other people can't do, and then surprisingly texting you and the family, I learned that you and Dad can do it. But I did some more research on the percentages, and it's about 25.
What are you talking about?
I'll get into it. 25% of the population can do this, and people can't. So a lot of people can't, and most people I talk to can't do it.
Hold on a minute. What are you talking about?
It's voluntary activation of the tensor tympani muscle in the inner ear.
Okay. Yes.
Basically, there's a muscle in your ear that most people can't voluntarily activate, but if you can, like I am right now, I'm activating it.
Oh my!
It sounds like a waterfall is inside your brain. It's like,
and I've been doing it since I was a kid.
Yeah. I thought everyone could do it. And I just recently learned that people couldn't do it. And then I was like, how weird am I?
You want to know a funny thing about when you texted us about it, which was hilarious. But I was even like, I remember as a kid being in church and I tried not to fall asleep because it was like every time I'd be like falling asleep because I would do that.
Yeah.
And it would keep me awake because I'd be like,
yeah, I used to do that. I used to do that in anatomy.
Thunder.
Yeah, anything to keep you awake, falling asleep.
The other night I was like, Megan, can you do it? And she's all.
And she could.
And I'm like, no, don't make the face. You can't make the face. She's like, I can do it. And I'm like, no, you're not allowed to open your mouth. You can't make any face. She was like, I'm like, okay,
wait, can she do it?
Yeah, because most people can do it if they open up their mouth. Because like when you're chewing or when you.
Mine's like a squint.
Or when you swallow. Or I mean, when you yawn.
Yeah.
That's like a similar. Mine's just. There it is.
Yeah, mine too.
There it is. There it is. No, I don't know if y'all can hear that, but what I'm hearing is crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like a waterfall.
It's like.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm so excited you could, when you texted, you and Dad texted, you could do it. And I was like, I'm not alone. Yay.
Yeah,
I
like,
honestly haven't been able to find people.
Mom and Natalie probably can't do it.
Well, we haven't hit from Natalie yet.
It's like, the women can't do it.
Yo. Well, Megan said she could. Yeah. Megan can do it. If she does that, she needs to practice more. So, but this led me down a rabbit hole of weird fun facts that only few parts of the population can do.
Oh, we love it.
And I thought I'd just read them out
real quick.
To us. So 10% of the population can touch their nose with their tongue. Only 10%.
You can do it?
Done, dude. Easy. Oh, you can't do it. You can't.
I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
I've never done that.
Nice, dude. Breaking
I have
records.
a weird tongue too. if you wanted to reverse, like go back in the video.
No, yeah, you do.
That
you
might
got
be
a
the
nice point.
That's the only video I'm ever going to do. That's bad.
No wonder Megan loves you.
And we're back.
All right, here's another one. 33% of the population can't snap. 33% of the population can't. Chantel's over there checking if she can. She's like, got it. I can do it. And then 10% to 20% of the population can wiggle their ears.
Oh, that's very hard. That's very hard for me.
I can't do it.
Once again, live in studio, our graphic designer Chantel Bogue, C-Bogue Design, is
back
here.
in Those Boys
building
studio
our website live. And can you wiggle your ears? She is wearing a beanie and has beautiful long hair. So who knows?
She's wiggling her ears frantically at the moment. It's pretty amazing.
She's wiggling them right now. There it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. She's flying away like Dumbo.
She's using her hand though. That's what we like to call.
She's just all flying around the garage.
If you're funny, that's actually the funniest joke you've ever said, Zach.
Thanks. I'm glad you're laughing.
Oh my gosh. That was really funny.
So funny. Right?
Yeah, that's really good.
Thanks.
Wow. Honestly, that was really funny.
Thanks.
If you're just listening, we are in our garage and we have this beautiful podcast studio we built. We have Chantel to the sidelines of us building the website, and we're very stoked about that.
I'm stoked, man.
Well, let's jump into it.
So today we're talking about worship.
Yeah, we're talking about
worship.
You can imagine. I guess I shall describe worship.
Please do.
How do you even? Because I haven't looked up online. I didn't take any notes for today. I just kind of figured there's a lot to talk about or that I could say. But worship is music, like in whether, you know, in the church, it's before the church service. It might be a song after the church service. But worship is a band or a guitar player, and there's these songs that are sang as a way to have communion with God, right? Or like to
it's worship. It's worshiping God. Yeah.
Praise God. And worship's, like I said, I didn't do any like looking on anything online, but it's been around forever.
Yeah,
worship has, and but that's what worship is. And I joined our family's church worship band.
Well, to start, our father, the pastor, also a pastor, was first a worship leader and a youth pastor for a like first 9 years of my life, whatever. But he was a worship leader, and so was our mother. And so they were the worship team, and everyone really liked their music that they would play for worship. And so at young ages,
well, they like from Southern California, right? Like worship leaders in the church there, and then moved to Northern California area as worship leaders, and then got into like that. But we come from a very musical family. So like growing up in a worship team family or worship leaders, our mother like singing and playing piano. They wrote their own songs.
Yep.
Beautiful songs too. They're worship songs.
Always worship songs.
I mean, like, and I just gotta say, like, I know worship can be pretty like depending on the song, but some of the greatest songs are worship songs.
Oh, dude, there's some bangers, dude.
Such bangers. I don't want to say greatest, but I mean, like, just the way they're written are so classic. It's just songwriting 101. And
yeah, it's basic song. It's like the basic form of songwriting, but sometimes the basic stuff is so good. And there's some worship songs still to this day that you sang one like on episode 6. You sang one as a joke, and I remember just been like, "Oh, dude, that's a banger of a song." Yeah, here we go.
Jesus,
lover of my soul, Jesus, I will never let you go. You've taken me from the miry claims. You spread my feet upon the rock. And now I know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Banger song. That's a good one.
For us, those songs and hundreds more are like right here.
Yep.
I sing them in the shower sometimes, and I'll like, it'll trigger me. Not even like in a bad way. It's just kind of like, damn, it's like it's getting any other like song or like.
It can be pretty triggering though, because I'll get these songs stuck in my head, and I'll be like, dude, I'm thinking songs praising a Jesus I don't believe in anymore, or like saying like for the blood of Christ and things like that. I'm like, oh, weird lyrics sometimes, pretty weird stuff.
So there's some really weird lyrics, like almost like if you replaced God or Jehovah or what have you, and like put a woman's name or a man's, it could be like full on like Frank Sinatra.
Oh yeah.
Tony Bennett love songs.
Yeah.
And they're like beautiful love songs. And I've done that before. I remember like replacing like certain people's names, and you know, like
nice.
You'd think of come up with any name. Stacy, lover of my soul. Stacy, I will never let you go. All of a sudden, it's like a great 80s love song.
Stacy.
It's almost like some of the great.
Stacy's a great name.
It's like the worship we were raised on came out of the 80s. I guess our dad really is a man of the 80s.
Well, it did come out of the 80s.
It did.
Yeah.
And
rock and roll, baby.
Love the 80s. I wrote that song recently that was like an 80s
inspired.
Yeah. I was thinking about putting it on. Maybe I'll use it for this game track. Yeah. So with that context that you said, with like, you know, I remember having like, we moved a lot. We had like different churches, not like as much as a military family, but that was my joke, was like, people asked, you know, like, oh, what was your childhood like? And it'd be like, well, my younger years was like, we grew up in, I have to bleep that out now, but
yeah,
we grew up in like our hometown. But before that, there was like moving from a handful of different towns, or like
we moved
we moved
twice, 4 times.
Was it 4 times?
Until we were settled in our hometown.
Yeah, and I was so young that I don't like.
You were 11, I was 9, Natalie was 13.
But that it was because they were leaders, like worship leaders, and they would do worship for many different churches, and they were good, really good. And I remember like out of all the trauma we talk about, calling this one trauma
is weird.
Isn't for me.
Really?
Worship isn't trauma for me, because that was one of the things that I like. I mean, I got my first drum set when I was like 8 years old. Started playing cajon, the box drums, like around the same time. And these are things that Dad bought me.
Yeah.
And they all connected to like wanting to be a rock star. Like 8 years old was like, I want to be a rock star. And that didn't end until never.
Yeah.
So like, and that all the way that I became a rock star was like, I think I might be able to be on the worship team.
Yeah.
And that was being a rock star, like seeing what, like the way people like congratulated Dad or Mom or other worship leaders. It was like, as pastors' kids, that's what you saw all the time. And it was kind of like, like at about 10, 11 years old, I was a pretty good drummer. And so around that age, Dad was like, hey, got you the djembe, got the cajon, you want to be on the worship team? And I was like, you want me in the band, Dad? I was like, I can't ever forget the actual experience. That was like how lucky it was to have like a family that was musically talented and inspirational. And like we can get into all the sides of trauma or sides of worship, but that for me, it was like Mom playing piano all the time and singing, and just sitting on the couch and watching her play was like a childhood memory. That's not traumatic at all.
Yeah.
Most of them were worship songs. Dad playing guitar, practicing for worship every Saturday night or every Thursday night or every Monday night for like printing out song sheets. Hey, Nathan, you want to help me out and go print out the song sheets? Sure, Dad. I'll go print out the song sheets. And like, so anything that had to do with worship was music, was performative, was on the stage. Like that's what Dad went on the stage and performed as a rock star, and then taught, like was a motivational speaker. Those were the things where I was like, I want to be a rock star. I want to be a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
I want to do those things.
Yeah.
And so, that was my like, and so I was on the worship team with Mom, Dad, and whoever else was playing, like the family band. It was like a family band every Sunday with your parents.
And we both have something to say to this, but you can tag it on to me later, but I'll just attack you at the moment. But the trauma that I already know is so deep within inside of you is you fell in love with this worship, being on the team, being on front of the church every Sunday, practicing too, being on stage, and so much drumming, so much practice, so much where you wanted to be. And then one day you were kicked off the team because you didn't want to be a Christian anymore.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
I mean, yeah, that's like, that is for me, my experience. For one, there were a lot of people that played instruments like in the youth group and other kids that played. But I was like, I like to remember things this way. I know that like memories are foggy, but like I remember knowing how lucky I was to be able to like perform. I didn't know anything more outside of that. Like besides the fact that like I felt like a rock star. And so no matter what context it is, if you're going to get kicked out of a band, whether it's the church band, your dad's band, like, of course, there's going to be some trauma when your dad like tells you that, hey, you're going to have to, like that's a little bit weird. But like, if you're going to get kicked out of a band, that sucks. Like, I don't know any movie or any experience where someone's like, sick. Yeah, actually, this is going to work out for me. They're like, hey, we found a new drummer. We just don't think it's working out. Screw you guys, man. I'm out of here. It's always like that. It's an emotional. I mean, a band is the dysfunctional family you decide to be a part of.
Yeah.
And that, my friends, is a Guitar Hero quote.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Good memory.
Yeah. Because it's a great quote. Being in a band is the dysfunctional family you choose to live with.
Yeah.
And like, because you're choosing to be in that family until the family's no more. And we know when bands break up, it's like, I'll never talk to you.
I'll never see you again.
It's like, what happened? The stage is a sacred place.
It is.
And when you're sharing that, when you're like people are like possessed by your performative art.
Totally.
You know, and that's why that's a huge part of what possesses me is that relationship between like the fan and the people. And so worship is so much, it's really personal for people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that like, yeah, before I like get distracted and start just talking about stuff, you're bringing up my trauma around it, which was, I think I was like 15 when I took mom and dad out to dinner at Giorgio's Italian restaurant to tell them, you know, that I tried really hard to keep believing and I just can't do it. I was trying so hard and I just can't do it. But I love being on the worship team. That's one thing I never want to end. And they were like, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, of course. And then like, it was very shortly after that like, yeah, dad came up to me and he was just like, you know what, man, like given the circumstances and kind of the, you know, the way things are is we just don't think it's best that you're on the worship team anymore. And I like knew that was coming before he said it because obviously, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what to like as I knew that me not being a Christian anymore, or at least saying that, like, what does that even mean? I was still a Christian. I just said it out loud. I made that step to go public to my parents about it. But those parents that I went public about it, he's the CEO of the church. Yeah. He's the CEO of the worship team. He's the CEO of the prayer team. He's the leader.
Yeah.
So if you're if you're like in the prayer team, if you're in the worship team, if you're like part of the church, you might get fired out of all those positions if you're no longer believing for all those things. And I knew that, but like I didn't like think about it. So the actual trauma of it hit like about a month after, where I was at church twice. And like the third time in church, I was sitting in the pew. There's some other person playing djembe. And I was like, Dad, this one really hurts. And it like really kind of started at such a young age. I was 15 and I got really angry. That's what kind of triggered some really bad, I hate the church. You can take anything from me, but you can't take my drums. I knew that like music was doing something for me. I stopped playing baseball and I was like, loved baseball, but I completely stopped playing baseball because I just wanted to focus on drums and the worship and everything. And so like but mind you, that's like the only worship team. I mean, that's the only band I've ever been kicked out of was my dad's. And so, and it was also really bizarre watching you join the worship team after I had been kicked out.
Well, after you got kicked out and Natalie moved, and then I was the last one for a while. And then they asked me to join the worship team.
And I was the thing is I remember pushing your buttons about singing. I remember hearing you sing on your own and you didn't know. And I remember like telling you.
I know.
And I remember me and my buddy Corey Ross.
Yeah, I remember that, dude. That's a big part of my life right there. Yeah.
And you should share that story because I remember I didn't have a voice and I was always so upset about that. And Dad would always tell me. And Dad was so inspirational when it comes to music and about a lot of things in life. And he would say, oh, you don't have to know how to sing. You can just do what I did. And I was like, what did you do? And he went, I just never stopped practicing until I got the keys right. And when he sings, you're like, oh, dude, you actually have really good pitch, but you're not like this perfect, amazing singer. Yeah. Like Mom has like a pretty much a gifted voice. Yeah. So I think you got like the genes that Mom has. Like me and Natalie were like, but rhythm for me is like I can like eat thing and do all these things. And so, you started playing guitar way before you started singing.
Yeah, I hid my voice for a really long time. You knew I could sing, and the family knew I could sing, but I never sang for people. I never would, and I didn't sing for people until senior year of high school.
Why was that? I mean, like I knew I had my like I push you right, and I didn't know what bear I was poking at the time, but you did start singing.
Yeah,
you should sell that. You should share that story. That's a good story.
Well, the story about you and Corey is you weren't even living at the house anymore, but I think you were visiting back from the city or something. And I was like, I want to say 16, and you and Corey got.
No, I was still living back home.
You were living back home.
I was living at I'm not gonna say their name, but I was living at. Living down the street, bro.
Okay, for some reason I remember this in the other house, not the the other house, not the first house we lived in.
Well, it might have been the newer house.
I think it was the newer house. And we moved in there when I was like almost 17.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right.
But either way, wherever it was, but you and
Upstairs
Corey,
to the left room.
Yeah, you and Corey shut up belligerently drunk. Like, but I think I knew you guys were drinking too. But you shut up and then you guys just like sat down, didn't say anything, and just walked in my room and sat on my bed. And then Corey was like, Zach, so what's going to happen is you're going to pick up that guitar and you're going to play a song. You're going to sing for us. And I was like, no, not doing it. and then so Corey was like, I'll make you a deal. I'll play you a full song. It's like, I'm not a singer, but I wrote a song. I'm going to sing it for you as hard as I can. I'm going to give you full effort.
I miss Corey.
And then he's just looking at me and I was like, this is so intense. And then he looks at you and goes, and Nate, you're going to sing us a song because I know you've written a song and you're going to try your best. And you're like, oh. I remember you being like, oh, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and then Zach, you're going to sing us a song. And I was like, oh God, this is terrible. But I was so excited at the same time. And then he sang one and he's just so good, man. He's such a musician that he's like all over the guitar and it sounds great and it's perfect. And I'm just like, and I have to go.
Yeah.
And then he gives it to you and you tried your best. I'll tell you that. You tried your best.
Yeah, I did.
But no, then I sang for you guys.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous and it was wonderful. And
I remember that when that's really beautiful too.
Yeah.
I love that story. But I remember when we left the room and the door closed, and I remember we were both standing outside in the hallway and you started like playing and singing again. And we were like listening. And I remember Corey was like, mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. We've done our job. Let's get out of here and go get drunk. So we like ran out and just got smashed.
Yeah.
Smoked like half a pack of cigarettes. We're so cool.
Different time. But yeah, I don't know why I hid my voice, man. There's a lot of things I hid for a long time. And I think just being the youngest and the family we were raised in and you being kicked out when I was like 15, high development time of my life. And a lot of my stresses, like I was just scared of people knowing me, I think. And it still causes me a lot of issues now on a lot of personality disorders.
Singing?
No, just why I was so secretive until about senior year of high school.
Yeah.
But no, I was on the worship team too.
So you joined, I got booted. And then about how much longer after that did you join then? Because I was about 15 and a half, I would say, when I got.
I would say it was like end of junior year. So it was like just turned 17.
Yeah. So it was like years after. Because I remembered it wasn't like something I'd even thought about. I must have been visiting and then you were doing electric guitar on stage.
Yeah, I just play lead. I think I did backup vocals like 1 or 2 times, but I hated singing for the church. And so I just did lead. And for some reason, people really liked it when I played lead with them. Because our ex-brother-in-law had me on all of his music too, playing lead. And it's just really basic, like you're not really doing much.
Yeah.
But no, I was on the worship team for a good minute. And then when I was about like 19, I got booted from the worship team. But I was different when I got booted because I was like, do it. I was just so different.
You won't?
No, because you and I got caught. You and I got caught drinking at Thanksgiving for the church. Like absolute fools.
I must have. I remember. Oh, it was at our house. It was at the house.
Yeah,
I was visiting,
and mom and dad knew it. So they were told. Someone smelled it on our breath, and like they were told, and so they were like, "We know you were drinking. We just want to know who with." So I'm never going to tell you. And they were like trying to figure it out, and they were like going to call people from the youth group, and I was like, "Fine." It was with Nate, but he didn't want to. I wanted to, and because like you always
true.
It was, and you always would get in trouble for me, pretty much. And
which is true.
It's true. But at that time, dude, I was like, buy it. I got you to like get someone to get it. And you're like, why? I was like, let's get drunk for Thanksgiving. And we had like 2 swigs. We weren't even drunk.
No, I think I must have been 21 by then.
I think you were because I was 19. I think you just drank 21.
I remember when I got a handle Jack Daniels.
Not a handle. It was just one of the little plastic nasty ones from the corner store. But we only had like 2 swigs. It was nothing. It was such a waste because it was just so much risk. We had the whole church over my parents' house.
I remember that night and I had a good time. I remember getting nice and twisty, but
we had a fun time
smoking.
Yeah, we had a fun time.
I got nice and crossfaded.
But yeah, and so they were like, I was like, fine, it was Nate. The only way in trouble. And they were like, what are we gonna do? I was like, well, I'm moving out soon. So it's like, that's that. And they're like, well, you can't be on the worship team. And I was like, cool. I was just like, I'm moving out soon. Whole different reality.
But you also dealt with things a lot differently.
I did.
I was like, let's go out to dinner.
Yeah, let's go. Put on my tie today at 15.
Can we get them some fettuccine? This is going to get ugly.
Giorgio, get them some fettuccine.
Yeah. Hold the garlic bread. So yours wasn't as traumatic. I was young, 15.
But yeah, I don't have that much trauma with worship. This is going to be, I think, the only topic we talk about where I'm going to say it's not really traumatic when I think of worship. The only thing traumatic is the songs that are stuck in my head, singing about things I don't really agree with anymore, but still they're great music. Taught me so much about songwriting, taught me so much about what I think good harmony is. And
the trauma for me with worship was, it took me as an art, I can almost hear everyone listening, my voice, I've been noticing it does that echo. Where you can like hear me, it sounds like I'm more in a tin can, and I think
it's when you get loud.
Anyways, that so like the whole worship team ended that thing, and I was very quickly. I'd already been in a band with a couple guys, guitar players, and a female singer, and they were incredible. And it was like a Christian singer-songwriter band. But that's when I was bringing my cajon. Like mom and dad let me go over and hang out with this. Grew up hanging out with this older guy, and he was an incredible guitarist, and I was their drummer. And that was the first experience, not in a worship team, but in a band. And they were really good. And I was like,
is this the May 25th band?
No, that was before this band. May 25th was the first drums I played live drums on.
Yeah, you guys opened for Blink.
Yeah, was it Blink?
No, it was Bleach.
Bleach.
Yeah.
Electric shoes or static shoes.
Yeah.
Bleach, classic Christian bands. But no, that was May 25th. But this band was like where it was kind of worshipy, but it was very like poetic, and the songwriting took forever. And I was just, I don't know. I felt like I knew there was hope after I got off the worship team. Like when I got kicked out, I was like really hurt. I was like, this is going to be something I'm gonna have to deal with for a while. I have to figure this one out, Dad. But I was like, but all cockiness aside, I knew I could play drums well, really well, because of what you said about all the practice. Like I'd spent from 11, 12, like 3-4 years every week and during the week, and worship teams and camps. And so I met Natalie's ex-husband, our sister's ex-husband. I met him at a summer camp and saw their djembe player, or they didn't have a djembe player, but I saw a djembe up there. I must have been 13 years old.
Yeah.
And there was like a 400 person camp, and I walked up to him, and he was like, all these girls were all over him. Like, you're so good at worship. Praise God. You're so hot. And I was like, who wouldn't want this life?
Yeah.
Hey man, you guys don't have a drummer. Can I drum? And he was like, you can try out maybe tomorrow. I was like, cool. Like didn't even worry about no nerves. I was just so excited to be like, I know what I'm doing so well that I can just be up there and rock out. And I killed it. And then I played every single worship set and Afterglow.
Yeah.
And I was like 13, and I was playing in front of 400 people, and girls were coming up to me and being like, you're like, and I was just like, this is like, my chakras are buzzing. It was like a lot of my experiences came from that stage. I felt like, I know we're not saying the F word more on this cast. We're trying to numb it out a little bit, just for the algorithm, which doesn't really matter. But I think like that experience, though, like being on a stage and like rocking out, kind of like mind fucked me because when I left the church and got kicked out of the worship team, I still had this like spiritual, personal connection on the stage, which I don't even want to say was like a huge, like it's not, that's a good thing for me that I like, but that I was so used to people coming up to me, and like I was so like conditioned that I guess you could look at it as like I was really conditioned for a stage performer as a drummer. But there was such an emotional, spiritual connection to being on the worship team, and I was such a true believer that like there's such an emotional connection to the stage. Like I couldn't not be on a stage. I had to like.
It almost like started the itch to perform from the youngest of age.
Yeah. And so like when I ended the worship team, it was like nothing else felt like I was succeeding. It's like everything was about the next show, and everything was about what band am I in, or what am I writing? And that that drive or that sort of like chase was like, I think I learned in Blouse when we did our DJ group, Deep House, Booty House, for many, many years. You know, like I knew that when things started to go well, but my chase, like the happiness didn't come. Like there was still this confusing relationship I had with being a performing artist and being a worship leader all the way throughout Blouse. Like the Jesus complex really kind of displayed itself strongly on stage. Like I was meant to be there. They're supposed to praise me because I'm helping them reach a higher place. I want my music to help people, fall in love. I want my music to help people, get through depression. I want my music to help people like heal from trauma, because my music can do that, because that's what worship does. And so it was like I had for a while a drive that was really authentic and organic for songwriting and stage performance. But when it became successful, the childhood familiarity to like people coming up to you and praising you that you're such a good drummer in the name of the Lord became that. It was almost like, it's so hard to explain, but that was like, I expected things. I wanted more, deserved more, needed more, craved the stage, didn't feel like I was good enough if I wasn't doing something on stage. And to be honest, like whether it's seeing Dad as a public speaker, as a pastor, I think for me, it's like watching him as a musical artist and mom, but like seeing how successful of a musical artist, he found a way to go on stage every week and perform for people. He's like a rock star every week, and it's personal and it's real. And like, I feel kind of cursed that like I have to always be doing something on a stage. And I know that's from like the insane,
but it feels that way because you started as a child. You're pulled into not only the worship team, but also being in front of the church at a very young age too.
Right.
And so of course it feels natural. And also that's where you get your most endorphins. You learned it as a kid.
I was told a lot. Like people would come up to me after worship, man, and tell me like, hey, I want to let you know, man, like when there's really good rhythm, having you every Sunday like helps me reach God.
Yeah.
Like thank you for being drums. Like it's such a blessing that you're here.
Yeah.
And then when it was taken away from me like this, because I was trying to figure shit out, it was like there's nobody telling me anymore.
So do you think they shouldn't have taken you off the worship team as their kid? I'm asking you honestly, as their kid not believing their religion anymore, how would that look for their church? So
I think that's a funny question, because I think I've learned a lot. That's the hardest pill to swallow, is that I'm just not sure if they see me as an individual. And so because of that, like, and as a person with an identity that changes and morphs and evolves, and how music is a universal language, like, and so I don't know if it's hard to look at and say like they shouldn't have kicked me off. That was a lot of like the motivation, and like I said that earlier, that like the hate that I came from that was unfortunate, and I had a lot to work through, but that was kind of a huge push that I needed, that spring shotted me like into my next way of thinking, like that. Yeah, of course they're going to kick me off. Why wouldn't they? I don't believe in that anymore. They don't want a secular person on there. But what I couldn't figure out for a long time was that I am an individual who like has an identity and was trying to find an identity outside of the church, but loved like music was a huge part of my identity. I don't think that they should have kicked me off, because it's really hard for me to write music now. When my son came into my life and we had to stop doing Blouse, it's been nearly impossible for me to ever get back to what it felt like since I got kicked out. Like the drive for music never stopped until the shocking events of like Evan came in. And that was so traumatic. And that was such a connection as a father and so many other things, and needing to like sacrifice things for him, or to figure that out. it just, music sadly and performing music sadly was the one that went.
Mm-hmm.
And because it doesn't make money, and it doesn't, but it did provide a lot of friends and it did provide a lot of community. And so it took me a while to figure out how to do that again and how to like find performing art. And that's where Neo Man, after many years, came out. But without getting too distracted, that's why I think that I wish they never did, just because I think it had a bigger effect on my childhood trauma, like as a child, to have your parents, and I could say all the other factors of people in the church and everything else, but mainly, it just created a lot of hate and it created a lot of anger. And it took me a long time to understand. And like that anger and hate was kind of around a stage performing artist. And so it's taken me like over a really long time to heal and learn myself better, to understand that like there's a part of my soul that is that I love performing, and music was like, and always will be, my childhood thing, like percussion and drums. So easy. But like acting in front of a camera like this, or like, I know we're not acting, but like wanting to be in movies or like, like I would be lying if I said I never wanted to do that. I've always wanted to be an actor, but I never pursued that because it was like, no, like I'm a rock star.
Yeah.
So there's so many ways to perform that aren't that have like a history to trauma and all of that. And this podcast, you pushing me to do this, man, was like a huge opportunity to realize that music is a part of my soul, but performing art is a part of like, takes hard work, takes vulnerability, takes nervousness. And doing this cast and starting it at least poked all the same buttons that I've been feeling for so many years. Which is awesome, because like I started my therapy in 2020 and it was, I don't want to lose Megan. Please help me, sir. And the other one was, and I want to start writing music again.
Yeah.
And now I'm writing music again because of this cast.
You didn't lose Megan.
And no, we're engaged, baby. Some things do work out if you work hard enough and just listen. But I'm really writing a lot more now.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying it. But I'm like starting to think and pursue other performing arts that I've always wanted. And so I don't know. It's wild. It's interesting looking at all the adventures of stage performance and how I do think that being kicked out and the whole worship experience has direct effects on a lot of my mental health when it comes to really wanting to perform music again on a stage. And then someone being like, well, why didn't you ask to DJ somewhere? And I'm like, why? And it's like, I just wish I could just do it because it'd be so easy and so fun. But there's a lot of weird shit that's still there that I'm hopefully going to keep working out so I can get back to it. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't know. What do you think about all that?
I mean, it feels pretty spot on. I just don't feel that traumatized from worship. The only thing that's like really traumatic when I think about like worship in the church is worship was the thing that like really pulled people and make you think you felt something spiritual when it was like, dude, no, that song just hit. That's a good song. And the harmonies were great. And this band is dope. That's what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And like people would really associate good worship with good teaching and good everything. And it's a great way to start the service before the sermon.
Wouldn't you say like the modern church is like, I guess, and when we're talking about worship, like we're talking, I think like gospel music is worship. And that shit hit different, like, if you're going to a Southern Baptist church and you get to walk into a house full of gospel singers, then Lord, lift me up.
Yeah. Straight up. Dude.
This trauma ain't the same.
Yeah.
And we've said that before, is the black church and the white church ain't the same.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're different gods, literally, And so not all worship is the same. And my experience to it is so personal, like we've been talking about. But I agree with you. The worship part isn't like the traumatic part. But if there's one thing I always felt so interesting about was that my drumming's making you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
Mm-hmm.
You should pray more because I'm just a drummer. I'm just drumming, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'm not even singing. Although I would really act singing all the time. You remember that, right? I was good at it.
Act.
I would sing while drumming.
Oh, while we're, yeah.
People would like connect with me and they would like lift their hands when they would see me like really get into it. And I'd be like, lift your hands. So like,
weird, dude.
That's my connection. That's my trauma.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of what I was trying to get at. Like I guess that's a good connection to how it felt like in any other stage performance. When you look at somebody like, yeah, that's right. Like you should be enjoying this. I know how to like get you to do like, I don't know. That makes sense as a rock star, you know, like I'm going to manipulate you to think I'm hot and then you're going to raise your hands.
Well, and that was the same thing with like you like go to youth events and they'd have Phil Wickham there and it'd be the best worship you've ever heard. And you'd be like, God spoke to me. It's like, no, Phil Wickham just has an amazing voice and their band is dope. And they did a dope guitar solo and you fell in love with it. And you bought their album and they made money off it. It's like,
lots of money.
Okay. I remember, I'm not going to give off his name, but you would know him if I said his name. Big worship leader, came out of rock. It's big. He was like making it in the rock scene and then became a drug addict and found Jesus in rehab, you know, one of those things. And then became a worship leader with some of our friends and they would tour the churches and go play worship. And I remember he told me, because that's when I started singing. It was when I got out of high school. He's like, Zach, if you ever really want to make it, you could just do worship. He's like,
he said that?
Mm-hmm. He goes, you have the talent. He's like, you have the talent to make it. He's like, but if you just want to make it and you want to know it, just do worship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's pretty easy to be a worship leader.
What did you feel when he said that?
Well, I knew it. I was a worship leader, dude. It's so easy. Everyone worships you.
Did you think that was weird?
No, I liked how real he was. It's like he's able to tour churches and make money. He's amazing. He was a rock star. He still has one of the best voices ever. He's still doing music, you know, like he's a musician. So I never really thought of like he's saying it like he couldn't make it. Like you can't make it. So just do worship and make money. Mm-hmm. He was saying if you just want to make money though, and you want to do music for a living, you could always do worship.
Man, you know, church culture is freaking weird, man. And it's manipulative is what it is. And it's tied to the same capitalistic thing, right? Yeah. And I mean, it really is like there's so many similarities to corporate America and the church. If you don't follow the way, you're fired, you know. If you follow the ways, you can get paid a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some of the biggest churches, they're multi-million-dollar churches.
If you want to write a book and you have a good connection to the church, you'll sell a lot of books.
What's that one church? What's the big world behind him? He'll stream his sermons.
I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. He's got that smile.
Yeah.
And you got all that shit when there was the hurricane and they kept all their doors closed and wouldn't let anybody sleep in their church.
Lovely. Such good pastors out there.
Classic. I guess to finish some of our talk on worship was when we started doing Blouse together, and we started the Booty House movement.
It was a movement.
Blouse Beats. That was probably some of the most traumatic experiences, but like not because of we just were so difficult, like as we were so high energy, high anxiety, young, partying hard. But man, every single time we went on stage together, before we go on stage, we would get close together and we'd have a ritual. We'd do like a little prayer and I'd say something. I'd be like, baby, we got this. Let's get out there. Like, and there was like a very familiar and similar feel to just how you go on stage to a worship scene. Like we'd go on there and it would feel like we were worshiping. We would say that like, it's way better than worship, baby. And like, and so that Blouse, even though there was like things that happened in Blouse that were like needed its own form of healing, Blouse really did heal a lot of my like childhood worship band stuff. Cause I was in so many bands, but that was the one where it was like, I needed to experience for a lot of years what it felt like to be the front man, you know, and like be on a mic. Cause I was always the drummer and, you know, like, And so like Blouse kind of gave me the like, now this is what it feels like to be a pastor and a rock star. Cause it would be like saying things and preaching, you know, and like
a lot of crowd control too, build ups, all those things.
Yeah. And like all of dance music is so worshipy. It's so emotional. It's spiritual. I remember like, I went to a Cascade underground show at the Monarch in San Francisco. He was doing his first ever Redux tour. And this was back when I was like a Cascade lover. And me and an ex-girlfriend went, and we were like right at his DJ booth and knew all of the lyrics because of all of his classic songs. And Cascade is, I don't know if he still is or if he's an X1, but I'm pretty sure he was Mormon.
Yeah.
So a lot of his music like had incredible like ties to like pretty similar ties to like worshipy style music. And I knew right away why I loved his music was because it was like worship buildups, similar chords, similar emotional drives.
Do Mormons do worship?
I'm sure. I don't know. I'd love to. Maybe we'll interview somebody someday and they can fill us in on there.
Yeah.
But I always like was really looked up to like his productions and his styles because I knew that there was influence from his religious upbringing, and he was so successful. And I knew that there was probably like still ties to the church and like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, at this show, I knew all his lyrics, and at the end of the show, their like camera guy came up to us and he was like, hey, you guys are like crazy. Do you guys want to do a little like documentary, like interview? And like, because you're such big fans, like, cool. So we went outside to the Monarch and they like put the camera on us, and he was like, so what exactly, like, why do you guys love Cascade's music so much? Like, why do you know it so well? And they put the camera on me, and this is what I said. And I've never been able to find this footage, and I don't know if they ever released it, and they probably didn't release it because of this is what I said. I was like, the reason why Cascade's music resonates with me is because when I was a child, I grew up in the church, and I know Cascade grew up in the church, and his music sounds so similar to worship, but it isn't worship. And I'm still worshiping. And I said something just like that. And I was like, and all I've been looking for is music that I can worship to that's not to God. And that's why I love his music. It's because it's like worship that isn't for God. And he was like, okay, and you?
He's
like, what?
We're not using that.
He's like, what are you talking about? And I remember being like so embarrassed, but like it was I was like embarrassed in front of the camera, and I was like, I just said it.
Yeah. Well, you conceptualized it too.
Yeah.
That's a big thing to conceptualize, and you did conceptualize it. So of course you're going to say
it. And I guess right now I'm saying this out loud. I'm making a connection to like, just because we're like a lot of the love for dance music and EDM and Molly and ecstasy in those moments are because that was the closest form to an emotional, spiritual worship experience I could find. That wasn't the church. Going to the club and just being able to dance for like 2 hours and coming out of it spiritually awoken. And like the DJ booth guy would be like, how's everybody feeling out there tonight? We're going to get down. Let's get down real low. And worship.
Yeah, exactly.
Worship leaders are like, everybody right now, we're going to stand.
Stand with me.
DJs are like, put your hands up. And I remember that's how I would talk on the mic.
Yeah.
But yo, this next track, we need everyone to get up. Okay. Put your hands up right now. Thank you. So it makes a lot of sense. Kind of the path and maybe why it caught out so dry.
It always like really annoyed me when I would be like, on Sunday, I don't want to stand. And believers, stand with me. I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch.
I remember you never wanted to stand, and I would like grab your arm, like, get up. And then I would sing so loud.
There were some days I'd be like, I'm not standing. And everyone would stand, and I'd be like, I'm not standing.
Yeah, Zach wouldn't stand.
I would throw a fit.
Yeah.
Like, you think you can tell me to stand?
There were some days that I would sit in the very front pew on like the edge of the front pew.
Yeah. Just dead center.
And then other days I'd sit in the very back.
Yeah.
Pastor's kids.
Yeah.
We had a lot of time, a lot of chance to
some days,
choose the pews you want to sit in.
There's some days I would just lay in the back. I would lay in the back pew and just be like, I'm going to bed. Fuck this.
I know you would. You would go to bed.
I know. And mom would get pissed.
Yeah. I mean, there was plenty of Sundays after church. It'd be like lay down in the pew and be woken up and be like, can we go home? It's like, yeah, it's life of a pastor's kid.
Oh yeah. And then for me, at least when I started drinking in senior year, a lot of it was I didn't sleep last night.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sleep in the pew because I have to go to church.
Man, here's the funny one. I remember there's one time we did LSD the night before Easter.
Lovely.
And, my buddy came and visited, and, I was still wanting to go to Easter to support mom and dad. And like, I did that for many, many years, because talk about like guilt and not wanting them to be mad at me, or if, like, I want them to love me. And like, so I would always go to check on them in church, and would just go and sit in there and talk to people, and did that for many years, especially with Evan. And so the one year, a friend came and visited, and we did LSD. This was years ago, and it had a wild trip. It was like 8 hours. It was very long. It was too long. It's like too long. It was like, you know what? Can we please stop? We have to go back home. And I was still living at mom and dad's. Yeah. It was like when I had to move back. It was like the first month I'd been back. So it was an interesting time. And I drove back, and my buddy was like, "Do you think your parents are awake?" And we weren't really feeling anything anymore. It was just the anxiety was so powerful. And I was like, I don't know. Probably it's churches tomorrow. It's Easter, man. So probably like my dad's got to get up. Like we get home, mom's like wide awake, and I'm just like in the kitchen talking with her, and like the walls all of a sudden are just like, whoa. And so we go upstairs, and my buddy just goes right to sleep. He just didn't even want to talk to me. He's like, I'm going to bed. And I didn't sleep all night. And then we wake up the next morning, and for some reason I was like, my buddy was like, do we have to like go to your parents' church? And I was like, I just want to be nice, man. We should probably go. It's Easter. He was like so chill about it. I was like, yeah, let's go. And I just really wish we didn't go. It was so tough, man. I was like so much anxiety.
Of course.
And we have a picture of that time. It was like a picture. You can see it in my eyes. If you look back on it, it's like, oh, honey, did you see things in the clouds for 8 hours before church?
Oh man, what a wild trip.
Literally.
Yeah. That's a wild trip. I could not imagine doing like a full psychedelic.
That was the last time I had done, and that was that was a while ago.
Yeah.
That was like,
I remember when you did it. I was still
ago.
living at mom and dad's when y'all came home.
Yeah.
And you guys looked exhausted, but I was texting you because I knew you were doing it, and I was checking in on you guys. And there was about a 6-hour period where I couldn't get a hold of you. And then finally,
nobody could, because everyone was calling us on the way home, and I was like so anxious, like, "Hey guys!"
No, but I finally got a hold of you at 10:30, and you were like, "Oh, it was wonderful, dude. Just pretty anxious now."
Yeah,
but we're coming home. Is mom awake? Remember you just being like, really like, "Are they awake?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude. Everyone's up." It's like, oh no. But
yeah. Luckily, I mean, that was the last time I had done psychedelics, and then I said I wouldn't do psychedelics again until I met the love of my life, and I literally hadn't done them again until I met Megan. And
now we do them every weekend.
Now we do them every weekend, but shrooms.
Yeah.
Different psilocybin. LSD is, we'll do it. You'd love it.
I mean, now that I've experimented with psilocybin, I do want to see what LSD is like, but dude, that's chemical. It's a whole nother ball game.
It's all chemical.
I mean, it's all chemical, but that's made in a lab.
Whatever it is, it's healing. And there was that person on Reddit that we messaged that never messaged me back, which is fine, who had mentioned that he was a major pothead, and that really helped with his anxiety, but he couldn't get off pot. And then he had to do an exceptional amount of mushrooms to help him with his depersonalization. And that's what really kind of brought him back to a place of true happiness. And I'm like, oh, I get it now.
100%.
Like this psychedelic therapy, man, is like really healing me. And like, it's just like a supplement to all of the therapy and everything else. And I just got a couple books too in the mail about the recent research. Cause I feel like,
and there's a bunch of new research.
You've helped me like start the Renaissance again.
Yeah. Well, there's a bunch of new research coming out. The one that we did want to talk about, so I'm glad you brought it up, but there's a new research came out just about DMT and its aid in depression. And it's like, do you actually have the numbers? It wasn't it like 61% or something crazy?
I feel like maybe the next cast we can plan on talking about this, and we can like do a little moment to Reddit, because we haven't done a moment to Reddit in a while.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a little, 3 out of 5 and then a moment to Reddit. We'll talk about it.
Totally. Should we get to the game?
Yeah, but this has been good, man.
It's good.
The thinking about this worship one, talking about
what are we doing next week?
It's pretty good trauma for me. So
yeah.
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, true.
But if you're listening, this is now when we are probably going to go ahead and go over to the Game Cam. So please, if you want to keep listening to us, we're playing Connect 4. But if you want to watch us play Connect 4, then turn off the thing you're listening to and open your eyes. Let's check in with Chantel over there. Chantel, how you feeling? She's good.
See, Nate, it's cold out here.
Is it getting?
I'm
but you're the one that you
freezing.
have the heater on you.
And she's still cold. My toes are numb.
Okay, well, we're almost done here. Gosh, some would say that's traumatic.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's start another cast.
Starting another cast. When Chantel touched me with her cold fingers, it reminded me of being in church.
Someday there's going to be like, because every single cast is like comedy and text, and there's going to be like thousands of trauma casts.
Trauma casts. So last time we played Connect 4, I beat your little butt. And then
Younger brother.
Nice
grammar. Nice grammar, younger brothery. It's not that, Zach. I was just been thinking a lot about our relationship, and letting you win has been something I'm tired of doing.
Except that I just won, dude.
Oh, shit! Oh, snap! So I have a theory right now in this game that Zach rigged it. The pieces fell through the first game. I have a theory that the pieces fell through the first game.
Wow, dude, that was so
on
easy.
purpose, because you know you were going to lose, and then you rigged it and got in my head by us having to replay the first game.
I beat your little butt.
Last week we played Connect 4.
The last time we played.
Oh, that's true. You beat me the last week too, which was unfortunate, but I still love you.
I mean, I beat you on most things.
All right, Connect 4 2.0. We're just going to brush over what Zach just said because he's full of shit.
No, it's not true.
No, that's very true. Because we all know that the only thing you need to really beat is life. And okay,
you are beating my life.
Go ahead and move on.
You're winning there, sunshine.
That's okay. It's not true, actually.
All right, so we rush him over first. Or I won last game. Should I just go first?
Now you can go first.
I'll go first.
But hold on real quick before you start playing. Connect 4. Let's make sure this is closed. Remember last time?
I just checked.
To get 4 in a row, you can be diagonal. You won the last cast, which was unfortunate. Clip it here. Clip it back. Taking that from that's Rick Glassman, by the way.
Mr. Glassman.
Who does the snap. And so what you just saw there was an old cast from when Zach beat me at Connect 4. And Rick, thank you for giving us that great advice. We're not trying to take anything from you. That's all you, man.
That's all you, baby.
All right. Winners game. Connect 4 2.0. Terrible first move. We're going to go ahead and just let that go.
Yeah. Smells like something's burned.
Are you serious? It's probably the heater, right? Oh, I know what you're trying to do. You're gonna block me. Oh wow. Okay. So do you have anything you want to talk about while we're dropping pucks?
I'm pretty sure I got a new job.
Ooh. What type of job? Are you bartending?
Bartending, yeah. But I need to get out of my job. I hate my job. And so I went in for a little stage, and it's this 5-star restaurant, and it was super nerve-wracking, and they just threw me behind the bar.
A 5-star bartending gig.
Again, yeah.
It's like really fancy.
Super fancy, super expensive.
Okay, so you had to do it. What do they call it again? A mock survey? Or what is it?
Well, it's called staging. Well, staging.
Oh, that's right. So you just walk in and they're like, hi, you're here for your interview that we're not having. Get behind the bar.
No, hi, you're here to stage? Yeah, okay, well, here's the bar. Show us what you can do. It's like,
You're
okay.
good, though. You've had a lot
It was
of
fine.
experience.
They weren't busy, and their whole bar setup is different, and so it was just a lot of questions on how they make things. It's like, how do you do your old fashioned? How do you do this? And you just do it.
How do you feel?
Really easy.
How do you think you did?
Oh, I did fine. I mean, they gave me the job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't signed anything yet. So until I sign things, it's not my job.
Right.
Because I was supposed to stage again. And then when they asked me to come in this coming Thursday, I was like, is this a stage or I'm training? And the manager was like, well, we like it, so let's just go training. It's like, cool.
Of course they like it. What is there not to like? They don't know anything that goes on at your house.
No.
They don't know about the, you know what.
I know. They don't know.
If they did, they probably wouldn't give you the job.
No, I would never get the job.
Interesting how that works out. Secrets.
Secret tunnels.
Secret tunnels. Sisters. Sisters.
Sisters.
This is a good game.
This is a good game. It's a tough one, too.
So this new bartending gig that you tried out or whatever, how many garnishes do they have?
A lot. And they also have like 14 different bitters. And
oh gosh.
I was trying to memorize some of the drinks today, and it's just a lot of anxiety, man. It's not the easiest of things to do.
But that's good because it's like, you've had COVID. So, I mean.
Man, I was trying to sneak that one in there.
No, I was watching you.
Oh, yeah, I was watching you.
I was watching you there, you little kid.
Oh, you could have won right there, dude.
Wow.
You could have won it.
Where?
Where I just put the red.
How's
you could have won it, dude.
Right here, I won.
Yes! No way, dude. Oh,
Yes!
This game's hard. Tough game. Good job, dude. You won. I'm just gonna let you have this moment. That face is so pretty. Keep that face. I'm gonna use that face instead for the thumbnail.
Do your cry face. No, we said no yelling. Damn it!
I was not yelling. I was crying.
I wanted to ask you if we ever redline. Can you please help us with the audio from now on and take that down?
Oh, I do.
But it
just sounds like it's distorting.
We gotta
actually loud.
We gotta figure out the distortion because we should be able to still make loud noises. Because when I watch these other casters, man, they're like screaming and they like keep the. You gotta put a limiter on it.
There's limiters everywhere. What we can do is have it quieter.
There's limiters everywhere.
We could have it so that it's peaking when we're yelling, but not distorting, and then it'll just be quieter.
Okay.
I'm just not sure if we'll be able to.
We'll figure it out.
Figure it out.
And isn't there like some sort of audio AI? Can we start using AI for this stuff?
For audio editing?
Everything. Like audio, like clipping stuff. Isn't there AI that can go in there and take all the clipping out?
I mean, kind of.
Isn't that what, I guess it's already doing that.
It's not, it's just filters and stuff.
I don't want this conversation right now to be distracting from the fact that I just kicked your ass.
I mean, you didn't kick my ass. It was a good game.
This was Connect for your ass.
Yeah.
Connect for your
You're
ass.
lucky that I won the first one because now you won the second one. And because you won the second one, that means I won the first one. And maybe I'll win the third one.
My head's burning. What you just said, there's smoke coming out my ears. Good game.
Good game, good cast, dude.
This one, yeah, it was a good one.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
I wanted to use this as an opportunity before we end this cast to say once again thank you to Chantel for being here. I know it's cold we do this in the garage, even though it's a very cute setup and we are very proud of it. It's cold, and so hopefully it's gonna be a nice summer out here. We're gonna have the garage door open. The sun's gonna be out till like 9 at night. We're gonna do later casts, barbecue. It's gonna be sweet.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to do casts in the summer.
So Signs music, you can find it everywhere, is coming out with his new track. You know, you've heard it here on the cast that Zach here is planning on releasing one track every single month for 12 months in a row this year. That was his New Year's resolution, and he's following that very respectfully and disciplined. And his new track, Blow My Mind,
on all streaming platforms.
Everywhere, if you're watching this cast, everywhere.
Yes.
If you've made it this far, I'm sure Zach will make a short of this and use it as promo.
Yes.
So if you're watching this, turn this off right now and go listen to Blow My Mind by Signs.
Blow my mind. Come on over, blow my mind. Remember, you're not supposed to do that anymore because there's music in the background. Remember that? You're not supposed to do it anymore. There's music in the background, Nathan.
Do you want to say anything about Blow My Mind?
I mean, you just did all of it. Hey, guys. Signs here. The full artist himself.
Yes.
Speaking to you.
It's you.
If you really like me and music and good stuff, go listen to my new song. It just came out. Blow My Mind is out now. SYNC on all streaming platforms. Go listen to it. Blow My Mind on all the platforms in which you can stream things. Perfect.
All right. I love everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I love everybody. Thank you for being here. Bye, everybody. See you next week.
Bye. See you next week.